All right, so these are tight ends that could theoretically finish in the top 20. At 24, we have Mike Gesicki, 23, Tyler Conklin, 22, Cade Otton, 21, Juwan Johnson, and 20, Colby Parkinson. Mike Gesicki used to be a fantasy force and a right around a top 10 to 12 tight end regularly. Now he's had 2 years with the Patriots of being essentially non-existent. I do like him more this season with the Bengals. Now, I do expect them to get out to an early lead against the Patriots, so they might not be passing the ball quite as much. So he's going to be a little bit lower in my rankings than I think I usually will have him. At 23, we have Tyler Conklin against San Francisco. He's really just a kind of safe floor player. I think Rodgers will give him a decent amount of targets. Now, he is going to have to contend with Fred Warner, so I don't think this is the best week for him. If you can stream someone else or have a better tight end, hopefully, for this week, you start them over him, but in a pinch, he is with Aaron Rodgers now. At tight end 22, I have Cade Otton against Washington. While not the most ideal matchup, he did start to break out in the playoffs, and now without Dave Canales there, I do expect this offense to regress. But I did like what I saw from him in the playoffs, so there is potential for him to start breaking out. It's just not the best matchup, so he's going to be down here. We'll have to see how he plays this season. At tight end 21, I have Juwan Johnson against the Panthers. There is a decent bet for him to be a kind of a volume play this week. I do expect Taysom Hill to vulture any red zone touchdowns or potentially Alvin Kamara. So I don't think in general this season he has very much touchdown upside, but he should be a decent volume player. It is a decent matchup. At tight end 20, I have Colby Parkinson against Detroit. He finds himself with the Rams. They don't have Tyler Higbee, so there is the potential for him to have, like a 5 for 60 and touchdown game. It is going to be, in my opinion, a very high scoring game. So he does have the potential to be inside the top 20 if he were to get a touchdown. These are tight ends that I think could be high-end tight end 2s to, at best, a low-end tight end 1 if they have a decent game and a touchdown. At 19, we have Taysom Hill. At 18, Hunter Henry. 17, Noah Fant. 16, Cole Kmet. And 15, Luke Musgrave. All right, so Taysom Hill is a decent touchdown threat every given week. He goes on these stretches where he'll get you, 12 to 15, maybe even 18 fantasy points because he's a multifunctional player that can play quarterback, fullback, running back, tight end. Not really wide receiver, but they can flex him out wide. Really, this guy is one of the most versatile playmakers in the NFL, and so he is a threat to score, but he also goes on cold stretches. It is an inviting matchup. It's really going to be up to him to score a touchdown, I think, to be fantasy relevant, though, any given week. At 18, I have Hunter Henry against Cincinnati. I do expect New England to be losing this game by a lot. So I think that he could be a decent volume play, and if he scores a touchdown, he has the potential to be a high-end tight end too. He's just not the most talented tight end in the world. At 17, we have Noah Fant against Denver. Now that Ryan Grubb is there, I do like his upside more. See, Shane Waldron liked to use a lot of 12 personnel, but he liked to rotate his tight ends a lot, so Noah Fant wasn't getting as much volume as we would prefer. I think that he is going to get a little bit more volume this season, but I also think he's going to be a little bit touchdown dependent to be fantasy relevant from week to week. At 16, we have Cole Kmet. This guy is so much more talented than his ranking suggests. However, it's a bad matchup against Tennessee. There are a billion playmakers in this offense now with a rookie quarterback. It's kind of hard to expect him, along with the fact that he now has to contend with Gerald Everett, to be a consistent fantasy performer. You could probably stream him in good matchups, or if he does end up being a little bit better than I'm hoping. But for now, I wouldn't feel as comfortable with him being my tight end 1. In a pinch, you could start him, but I think he's going to be very inconsistent week to week, which isn't his fault. He's talented. At 15, we have Luke Musgrave. It's honestly just a terrible matchup. I do like him in this offense, though. He's absolutely a threat down the seams. I think he is the more talented tight end between him and Tucker Kraft. I just think that while I think he's probably in the best situation in general among these players, I think that he's just not going to have quite the ceiling with them also having Tucker Kraft, an assortment of weapons, and this being a bad matchup. This tier of tight ends are tight ends that could be in the top 12 if they get a touchdown. At 14, we have Dalton Schultz. At 13, Pat Freiermuth. And 12, Dallas Goedert. Now, all three of these tight ends are also in positive matchups. So Dalton Schultz, the only issue is I think he's going to kind of fluctuate from week to week with his fantasy scoring due to a lack of volume. So if he scores a touchdown, he has a good chance to be in the top 12 because he's very talented and it's going to be quite the efficient offense, and it is a good matchup. At 13, I have Pat Freiermuth against Atlanta. I think he is going to be, in general, the most productive playmaker in terms of the passing offense for the Steelers. I think he's going to be volume driven this season. Really, besides Roman Wilson and George Pickens, they don't have anybody to threaten anybody through the passing game. I think he's going to get a good amount of volume, and I think he's going to be a very safe floor, but not as high upside player for us this season. At 12, I have Dallas Goedert against Green Bay. It is a positive matchup. I think there's a decent chance he scores this week. Now, his volume is going to be what makes it hard for him to be higher than a top 12 tight end this season. But like I said, it's a good matchup. They should score a good amount of points against Green Bay. And so I think he's going to be fine as a low-end tight end one. But I definitely wouldn't expect him to be an elite tight end most weeks this season. This tier of tight ends are likely tight end ones. I just think they're going to be low tight end ones. At 11, we have Brock Bowers, 10, David Njoku, and 9, Jake Ferguson. So Brock Bowers is facing off against the Chargers. That's definitely not an ideal matchup. He's also in just about the worst place you could find for him. It was depressing that he went to the Raiders. He has to not only contend with Devontae Adams there, he has Jacoby Myers. He also has Michael Mayer. It's a run-first approach with Pierce, who's a defensive-minded head coach. This is just about, if not the worst situation that he could have found himself in. However, he's so talented that I think he's still going to be a tight end one more often than not. I just think that his ceiling is not going to be realized due to the extremely poor situation around him. At tight end 10, I have David Njoku against Dallas. Now, this is a positive matchup for him. I do think he's going to eat. It's just Deshaun Watson, he didn't display the upside that he displayed with Joe Flacco with Deshaun Watson. I want to see that kind of upside with Deshaun Watson before I really start to push him up these ranks. But either way, he is one of the best athletes at the tight end position and is very, very talented, and it is a good matchup. At tight end 9, I have Jake Ferguson against Cleveland. It's a wonderful matchup. He's a decent tight end. Dak Prescott makes him look fantastic. He's the second option in this Dallas offense. They should be passing quite often. And I think he's a decent bet for a touchdown this week against Cleveland. This tier consists of absolute studs at tight end. At 8, we have Kittle, 7, Pitts, 6, Ingram, 5, LaPorta, 4, Andrews, 3, Kincaid, 2, McBride, and 1, Kelce. All right, so Kittle is at 8. He's facing off against the Jets. It's just about the worst matchup you could imagine. Now, while he does have, in my opinion, the highest ceiling of any tight end in the game, he also possesses by far the lowest floor, in my opinion, of any of these tight ends on a week-to-week basis. I think this is one of those games where he has the potential to have a floor game, but also facing off against Rodgers, there is the chance that they have an increased amount of passing volume, and all he needs to do is break a long touchdown, and he's so talented that there's no way I could have him below 8th really any given week. So I think he's still a set-and-forget tight end. I just wish it was a better matchup. At 7, I have Kyle Pitts against Pittsburgh. Same thing. He's really, really talented. He finally has 2 quarterbacks that can throw him the ball instead of none. He finally has a decent head coach now, even though it's a defensive-minded head coach in Morris. But more importantly, he has Zach Robinson, the Rams passing game coordinator from this past season, as his offensive coordinator now. So with them having the Rams scheme instead of Arthur Smith's, I think we're finally going to see Kyle Pitts thrive. Although, just like with Kittle, it's not an ideal matchup. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people now that he's not receiving the 37th most accurate targets and the 37th best catchable target rating anymore. That's, besides the MCL tear, is what slowed him down. He's going to eat the season. This just isn't the best matchup. At 6, we have Evan Ingram against Miami. I expect this to be an absolute barn burner. I think he's going to receive a little bit less of targets this season than he has in the past because now they have Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis there, both better wide receivers than they had in the past. However, he's still one of your set-and-forget tight ends because he's still going to have a massive target share on a week-to-week basis. At 5, we have LaPorta against the Rams. It's going to be a shootout game. He's as good of a bet as any to be the tight end one. However, his matchup is the worst among the top 5 tight ends in my ranking here, so I'm going to have him at 5. He could still be the tight end one, though, as any of these tight ends could. He is going to be behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I do expect the Lions to want to run the ball a little bit more this game to help control the clock and try to preserve a win over the Rams. But he's still a set-and-forget tight end one, and absolutely, once again, could be the tight end one. At 4, I have Andrews against Kansas City. I do expect Baltimore to potentially be losing this game, so I expect there to be a lot of passing volume. It's a friendly matchup. Mark Andrews is the number one option in this offense, and so therefore I have him at tight end 4. At tight end 3, I have Dalton Kincaid against Arizona. Arizona's defense is terrible. Dalton Kincaid is the presumed top target in this offense. I think he's going to absolutely eat the season. He's going to be a set and forget tight end 1. At tight end 2, I have Trey McBride against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is going to be atrocious. Trey McBride was the most targeted tight end in the NFL in targets per route run rate this past season. He is going to be the second option behind MHJ, but I think that's going to make life even easier for him now that he's not the only credible receiving threat for the Cardinals. I think he's going to be a dominant elite tight end 1, and because of his easy matchup, I have him at tight end 2. And at 1, I have Travis Kelce against Baltimore. I expect this to be a kind of shootout game. I do expect Kansas City to take the lead, and I think Travis Kelce is going to eat this game. Even as a Baltimore fan, there is nobody on our team that can cover Travis Kelce. Kyle Hamilton, who is one of the best cover safeties in man coverage in the NFL, still couldn't do it. He's lost a step, but he is still the best tight end in the league, in my opinion, connected to, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL. So until he proves to just not generally be the or one of the best tight ends on a week-to-week basis, he's going to remain there. All right, so tight ends that could theoretically be in the top 20 are Mike Gesicki, Tyler Conklin, K. Dot, and Juwan Johnson, and Colby Parkinson. Tight ends that could theoretically be tight end 2s are Taysom Hill, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Cole Kmet, and Luke Musgrave. Tight ends that I think could be in the top 12 this week are Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, and Dallas Goedert. Then likely tight end 1s, but likely back-end tight end 1s are Brock Bowers, David Njoku, and Jake Ferguson. And now stud tight ends that are more likely than not to be in the top 8 just about every week are George Kittle, Pitts, Ingram, LaPorta, Andrews, Kincaid, McBride, and Kelce. And so that concludes my top 24 tight end rankings for week 1. Feel free to check out my top 36 wide receiver and running backs video and top 32 starting quarterbacks video for this week. I'm going to be doing these videos each and every week. Who would you have a little bit higher in this list or lower? Is there anybody that I missed that you think should be included in this list? Let me know in the comment section below. If you have any start-sit advice that you're looking for, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to help out. And if you like these types of videos, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing these every single week of the fantasy football season. With that being said, I'm the fantasy football strategist. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.